Scalping is really easy once you start using VWAP. In this video, I'm going to show you the 4 essential VWAPs that I normally use, which is the start of week anchored VWAP, the New York VWAP, the daily VWAP, and then the previous day's New York VWAP. But let's jump into the charts so I can show you the secret sauce of how I use VWAPs in order to find some nice and easy scalps. So I want to point out a very solid VWAP that you can immediately start using today, and that is the start of week anchored VWAP. I want to highlight last week's start of week anchor VWAP, and then we're going to move on to this week's start of week anchor VWAP. But right here, last week was May the 11th. And if we anchor a VWAP at the start of the future session of that week, so Sunday, 1800, if you're on Eastern Standard Time, you're going to want to anchor a VWAP there. And then in the VWAP settings, you want to make sure that your VWAP source is open, high, low, close. Once you see that, then you can start seeing where the buyers are stepping in if the trend is going higher. But you can also see, let's say if we're going down, you can see where the sellers are stepping in. So I just want to highlight last week. Last week, we saw buyers stepping in where they needed to, forming higher lows at the start of week anchored VWAP. We see it here. We see it here. We see it here. We also see it here. Even though you don't get an infinity amount of entries every single day, you get high quality ones because you know that previously buyers stepped in on this key level. And this is the key level that I want to use in order to understand when I should get into a trade or when I should even look for a trade. If price is not around any of these levels, why would I be looking for a trade? Because history speaks, it's a lot easier to take a trade around off this key level because of what has happened in the past, rather than me just kind of guessing and picking a random spot. And so that's pretty much what we want to use the 1 hour for, is just to kind of get a general picture of, are we building higher highs and higher lows, or are we building lower lows and lower highs? Because we've been building higher highs and higher lows for the past couple of weeks and price has clearly been trending very bullish, we want to see where buyers are stepping in. And if we're looking at to see where buyers are stepping in here, we now have areas of interest. And also, ironically enough, yesterday, we also saw buyers step in and allowed me to take a quick, easy trade. So I made like 250 bucks on one account and then $470 on another account, literally within like 4 minutes. And this is why I love these areas of interest so much, and they're great levels to take scalps off of. But guys, I just want to put a quick pause because it's super important that you use my code Manny at checkout when you're buying an account with Top 1 Futures. Where else can you get such a nice, affordable 150K account? Top 1 has already paid out thousands of traders, and this month alone, they've paid out over $2 million. So make sure you can get your account with 40% off using my code Manny with Top 1 Futures. So we're going to keep these areas highlighted, and now we're going to go down to the lower time frame. Let's go down to the 2-minute chart because that's where we're going to be basically making our executions. So once we have these areas highlighted on the higher time frame, you can then look at the lower time frame, and we understand that, okay, if we want to form a higher low, ideally, where should the higher low be set? And this would be a great spot for the higher low to be set because not only do we have a price level right here, but we have a very important key VWAP, which we anchor at the start of every single week. And so if we're taking a trade here, once we start to see buyers step in, because right now, I still don't think buyers are fully stepped in. And, we kind of take like a little bit of hit from that. You could have taken some profit. You might not get that full 1R, but buyers are fully stepped in. Once we confirm have made this nice higher low, we push higher, and then we can now confidently get back in once we see buyers step in again. Right? So as soon as we see this, we can pop and then we can look for a long right here. Stops down here because this was a proven higher low that we respected. And then if we go for 1 hour, you just get that really nice, fast trade that works in your favor because you're trading with the trend. That's the key with kind of like taking, scalping intraday. You want to ride the trend because that's where you kind of get the momentum. That's where price, you get your easy winners, your real quick trades, is if you're kind of trading with the trend because you never know what you can't really pick your tops, you can't really pick your bottoms. If we're trading the trend, we're trading in alignment with the weekly VWAP. This is an easy way for us to be in alignment with trend and understand when we should be in and when we should kind of just sit flat on our hands. And if we even go to the next time, right, the next circle area we highlighted, we're seeing that buyers are starting to step in right here. And of course, this is overnight price action. you know, so it's a lot easier said than done to kind of, no one's who's going to be up at 4 in the morning. I don't know, right? But if you are awake at this time, I mean, as soon as you see buyers step in here and then we start to push from this level, as soon as we come back down, you can then get in with your stop down here and then look for some continuation to the upside. It's going to look something like this with your stop down here structure. And then you kind of like scalp, go for a few points, right? Or just hold it for, you know, a couple, I don't know, a couple hours maybe if you want, because it's overnight price action moves a lot slower. But with this being said, looking at this, seeing that, dang, we have a really nice higher low here overnight, and we're respecting the weekly VWAP. Going to the New York session, you can now consider maybe taking a trade. And I believe the trade that presented this day, if I'm not mistaken, let's go ahead and anchor a VWAP here. Okay, so on this day, I mean, the trade that we could have taken here was it would be a very early trade. But I mean, again, you could take a nice long right at the open, knowing that, hey, we formed a nice higher low here. We kind of broke above the daily VWAP. We try to pull back, we're consolidating, and then you can kind of get in, basically calling this a break of the New York VWAP. It's not the best trade in the world, but it is a good scalp if you want to take it, right? But notice how whenever price interacts with these areas of interest, price respects it and we find buyers here. And these are areas to where we're allowed to take some pretty easy freaking trades. Again, if we go over to here to where a trade I actually took, again, buyers weren't quite ready yet. We haven't even really truly engaged with this level, and we don't see buyers really stepping in yet, right? A common pattern we see is to really have buyers show their hand as close to the area of interest as possible, preferably if it like maybe breaks through it or even touches it. Once we actually kind of like break below the weekly VWAP, but buyers take us right back up. We have a nice confirmed higher low here because we saw buyers step in here and it's been proven. As soon as we kind of pull back, or even you can, you know, like I did take this breakout, but if as soon as you get in on a pullback, stop right here at the recent higher low. You take that 1R. That's a very easy trade. And I actually was able to take this overnight in the morning. And then even here, I mean, we just formed the higher low. If you are kind of like trading the New York session, and then we anchor a New York anchor VWAP on 930, I mean, you can easily just, again, you could take a trade anywhere within here. Maybe you want to see price kind of set a higher low. Okay, we form another high low. You see buyers step in. You get in, stops right here. You may need to sit in this trade for a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're able to scalp a nice couple of points in the New York session. And this is a face ripper. But again, getting into where we have these levels of interest is really important because it just makes taking the longs a lot easier. All right. And so now going to this time, we have a brand new week. Because the week is so fresh, it is the Monday, we still basically want to use the previous week's VWAP because we don't have as much data on this VWAP compared to the last week's VWAP. And in this VWAP, we see price coming down, it respects it, and then this is some nice confirmation to where we can get in long. And at this time, this pink VWAP is actually the daily VWAP because it's on a Monday. And so what we can do is a nice trade that I was actually looking to take, but I did not take it, unfortunately, was a breakout trade. Stops right here at recent higher low. And then you're just taking a nice breakout of the daily VWAP. And then price just soars up. And it's a really nice trade. But again, it's so easy in my eyes because we're bouncing off of areas to where buyers have previously stepped in. And then we can ride that momentum with combining other VWAPs. Maybe you're taking a New York VWAP breakout or a daily VWAP breakout or whatever, you know, whatever type of breakout you want to take. Or if you want to just take like a normal bounce play off of these key levels, you can do so. I would just recommend to let structure play out, let buyers show that they're now taking control so that we're trading with the trend, and then you kind of get in. But also don't keep your stop loss too tight because you will get burnt. And if we look later on, which was yesterday, to where we took that trade that I mentioned very early on, we're going to take the trade as soon as to where we see buyer stepped in overnight previously here. We formed a really nice higher low. As soon as we get that pullback, bro, we get in that thing. Our stop is right here, 10 points covering structure. And then we literally get this in 2, 4, 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Probably before, because I'm pretty sure we got out before. Like it was at the beginning of this 2-minute candles formation, then it kind of like just consolidated up here for a little bit. So in reality, I'm pretty sure the trade was literally like 4.5 minutes or something like that. But I mean, look how easy that is, right? Look how effortlessly longs are if we're making sure that we're taking them around these areas that I have circled here. We're taking longs here, 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 here. Those scalps are just incredible. You can literally scalp a few points and then leave in a runner and then milk this thing because we're seeing higher highs and higher lows being formed on a higher time frame. We understand where these buyers are stepping in. So we're going to get in next time we come to that key level or area of interest. Now, I want to point one more thing out here because this week things kind of flip and they seem to have changed. We have the start of week anchored view up here on Sunday, the 18th. We're now at Thursday. So we've had a little bit of time for kind of like the price data to develop around this view app. And so now we can see that maybe we're starting to shift some structure. If we look at the 1 hour chart, we're going to see that we have a bit of a ceiling up here that it's really hard for us to come in. Sellers stepped in once and twice, but now look right here to where after we took that nice wing long, filling this higher low, we see that sellers step in at the start of the current week's start of week VWAP. And this is kind of concerning that we may no longer be wanting to continue our uptrend. So as soon as we see this rejection, maybe now, okay, it's a new start of week. This is the most current start of week VWAP. We're starting to build some data. We see that price is reacting off of this and that they're selling off. Maybe this is going to be a good signal to where now we want to look for shorts. And at this point, once you see sellers are kind of start in, you can trade from key level to key level. Let's go down to the 2-minute chart and observe this price action. We're seeing here that we had a really nice long one leg and then two legs, but then we start chopping around here. Buyers and sellers are clearly fighting, but then we should just see sellers kind of take price over. And as soon as price starts to fall, you can try to get into this short, basically taking the rejection off of the start of week VWAP because we know how important the start of week VWAP is. And we understand that this is some clear structure to where if the price gets above this level, we would no longer want to be in our short. And again, this scalp right here is just incredible, guys. Again, we're taking what's going on the higher time frame and finding our entries where we want to get in at. Then we go back down to the 2-minute and say, okay, we're at the area of interest where we would like to look for a trade. Now let's wait for some trade confirmation on the lower time frame. And your trade confirmation could literally be right here, but I honestly think that's way too early. I would ideally like to see price dip below its New York VWAP. Once we get a nice candle closure below the New York VWAP after we just rejected the start of week VWAP, then you can jump to the trade, have a 20-point stop. I mean, again, like you can easily get 1R and then go ahead and leave in a runner. 1R is absolutely perfect here because if we want to trade from level to level, we're basically trading off of the rejection of the start of week VWAP down to the previous week's start of week VWAP, where buyers previously stepped in at. So we get out our trade there. You can maybe leave a runner and then you can just like milk that thing if you leave a runner, right? But that's basically how I'm using VWAPs to scalp and to find these moves is one, trading with the trend. Trading with the trend is super important. Let me say it again. Trading with the trend is super important. Two, I mean, we want to read and react off of VWAPs. What is price doing off of VWAPs? Okay. If we have this start of week VWAP here to where we clearly see that price has been rejecting it. We see rejection here, another rejection. Okay, we're starting to reject it. We're having a tough time getting above these VWAPs. You can take longs on here, but now we can take shorts up here because previously we've been struggling breaking above this ceiling that we have up here at like the 59.90s area. So I want you to do one thing after watching this video. No matter if you're a supply and demand trader, a VWAP trader, a Bollinger Band, whatever, 21 EMA, your mama's, either way, look at the charts on the 1 hour chart, see where buyers are stepping in, see where sellers are stepping in, see if we're making higher highs and higher lows, see if we're making lower lows and lower highs. Trade with the trend and only get in when the direction you want to go to has previously proven where they'd like to step in. For me, I personally see this best when using VWAP, which is why I recommend using VWAP because I like it. So I'm obviously going to tell other people to use it because it's what I like, right? But look at VWAPs, anchor them on significant highs, significant lows, maybe at the start of week, or even during significant news events, and just see where price is respecting and which VWAPs it's actually respecting. Where are buyers stepping in? Where are sellers stepping in? What has been going on recently? And then just ride that momentum. You don't need to catch the full move. You only need to catch a few points of the move consistently to put you in the green and to get you some payouts. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please feel free to watch my other videos. But most importantly, use code Manny for 40% off. If you're not doing that, I don't know what you're doing, but I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.